Good morning, I'm Reverend Paula Skiles with Unity Church of San Marcos, and we're glad you're with us. This is Sunday, the 12th of November of 2023. Can you imagine that it's already November? I mean, just time seems to be flying. Yeah, yes. Anyway, so we welcome everyone online, and we're praying that this is a good time for you as well to have a few minutes to sit and just enjoy a message. I wonder how many of us have never been to a wedding. Have you ever been to a wedding? Anyone? All right. Well, I know. Have you ever been to a wedding where there was a memorable event? No? I mean, I've seen a few, okay? I've been to a few. Hello, minister here.
My daughter.
And there was one in which they were lighting a candle and everything went, all the flowers went up in flames. I mean, so stuff happens at weddings, right? All right. Well, this message is about you and me going to a wedding, or living truth. All right. Living truth is the title of this message, and it's about how to come out or move out of suffering from spiritual darkness or spiritual dryness. Okay, we all know what those dark nights of the soul are about. I think every one of us has had at least one. But you also know probably that weddings symbolize a union or becoming one, correct? Okay. So it's no wonder that in the Bible Jesus uses an analogy to represent a wedding to represent the kingdom of heaven, which is a state of consciousness. And his analogy goes a lot differently than any other wedding that I've ever been to. The parable of the wedding guest is about the intricacies of living truth. So here's how the rabbi put it. I'm going to share it. Once more, Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his slaves to call those who had been invited to the wedding banquet. But they would, he sent his slaves to call those who had been invited, but they would not come. Again, he sent other slaves, saying, 'Tell those who have been invited, look, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fat calves, and everything is ready. All has been slaughtered. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they made light of it and went away, one to their farm and another to his business, while the rest seized his slaves and mistreated them and killed them. The king was enraged." Now this is not your normal story, right? Okay. So he sent his troops, destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then he said to his slaves, "The wedding is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore into the main streets and invite everyone you find to the wedding banquet." Those slaves went out into the streets and gathered all whom they found, both good and bad. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he noticed a man there who was not wearing a wedding robe. And he said to him, "Friend, how did you get in here without a wedding robe?" And he was speechless. And then the king said to the attendants, "Bind him hand and foot and throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen." Okay, not your normal everyday wedding.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah. So, let's do this. Jesus says that this wedding symbolizes the kingdom of heaven, right? So it represents that being one with spirit in consciousness. You and I are meant to attain. We've been invited, everyone, all parts of us, good and bad, okay? So each of the characters and the events are a part, they're symbolic of the process of you and I experiencing or attaining or achieving a state called a kingdom of heaven. It's a consciousness. All right? What do you think that consciousness of a kingdom of heaven would be? How about a sense of peace during times of difficulty? Or how about a sense of comfort whenever we're going through suffering and challenges? Or hope? How about just connecting to a sense of love that's so unconditional? All right, so there's all kinds of ways I see the kingdom of heaven, a consciousness of spirit being a part of our life. Now, it takes a lot to take those words and turn them into an understanding for ourselves, because we have to go beyond the literal concept that you hear, right? And if we follow the story's application a little further, we find that the king represents spirit as the host. Okay? Can you see then how the king's slaves are those ideas or intuitive feelings and thoughts that invite you and me to have a deeper connection to life? Can you say, like, when you feel like, I need to meditate some more? You ever got those feelings? Or I need to get out in nature? You ever have that sense of, I just have to have a sense of peace and I've got to get out. I need to go walk. Or turn off the TV, whatever it is. You know, there's all kinds of ways that we get these little feelings and thoughts that Spirit is inviting us into a deeper connection. Okay? But here we have folks who just don't want to attend. They are too busy with all their doings in life, right? And so they are like you and I, when sometimes we get so focused, right, on our jobs, our careers, our relationships, or and you can put whatever or for yourself, right? And so these slaves are like those feelings that we set aside. We're too busy, we ignore them, right? Anyone ever done that? I know I have. Mm-hmm. At least once. Okay. So some of the invitees, though, do a lot more than just ignore those feelings. They abuse, mistreat, and murder them. Yes. Okay. So do you believe that you've ever abused and killed off any promptings of Spirit?
No.
No, never.
Not me.
Not
that
me.
we know of.
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose. Okay, all
I'm not going
right.
to tell you what they are either.
So ever had a call to be more empathic, only to discard it by holding on to an attitude of, they got what they deserved? Okay, all right. What about feelings of benevolence, wanting to be more benevolent, and then finding yourself condemning others, holding on to a feeling, I'm right. I mean, I'm right? Okay. Ever had a desire for loving acceptance, but find yourself holding on to a past hurt and pain and hurling it at someone that you care about every time you have a disagreement? Dragging it out. Oh, for the last how many years? Okay. Has the idea of forgiveness crossed your mind, but find yourself obstinately holding on to some offense, hurt, anger, months or even years later? Ever had thoughts of compassion for someone, but find yourself being actually cruel to them? Okay, reflect with me. Would murder or killing be a correct term for what goes on? What do you think? All right. In this way, does living any of these ways murder the potential for good in us? Yes, it could. Yes, it could. So what happens in that instant when we have that invitation, that call? What happens when we move into a different way? We decide to go the opposite direction. We choose. What happens to that invitation?
It's an opportunity.
It's a missed opportunity for sure. Do you see how these error thoughts and feelings just stop cold? They're just stopped cold. The invitation to the kingdom is dead on arrival, so to speak. All right. So after the wholesale slaughter of the unworthy murderous ones, the king had a whole city burned. Now this is great news. Hello. This is great news. Why? What is happening when God destroys the murderers of the city? Think about this a moment. If all of these are thoughts and feelings that are attacking, if you will, our openness, our receptivity to Spirit, our invitation into experiencing greater good, what could be better than the power of Spirit, the power of truth, to simply burn that whole segments of it away from us? And that power is what is happening. His Spirit is burning off the dross of our life, the ways that we are not living up into an experience of good in our life. All right? So this is a wonderful experience. Not always a pleasurable one. Not always a pleasant one. But it's, whenever we're letting go of behaviors or habits or things like that just don't really work for us anymore. All right. But it is a blessing. So the fire of truth is burning away whole segments of these negative attitudes or error thinking as you and I are called to live in truth. We're invited every moment. Okay, remember how both good and bad were invited and got to go to the wedding? Okay. All of these good, bad, every part of us, okay, was invited. What does that mean? What does that mean to you when you think about it? You don't have to be perfect, huh?
You don't discriminate.
God doesn't discriminate, that's for sure. Yeah. But God is saying, God in our Spirit is inviting us regardless of what's going on in our life. Or the choices we're making, or the behaviors we live in, or the thoughts that we have, or all of it is invited. And we don't have to be perfect.
Everything we do is really, good or bad, is an opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, because God sees the spirit. He doesn't see the stuff all around.
All right, yeah. Spirit looks at us with eyes of love, you bet. So, what do you think it means not to be dressed for the wedding? Obviously, all the other folks were in their wedding garments, right? Okay. What do you think it means not to be dressed for the wedding?
He wasn't wearing, it was just being himself, just being more inner being, more soul instead of outer. Inner instead of outer.
Okay, but this one was cast into outer darkness because it wasn't dressed in the wedding finery, right?
Yeah.
Which means all the other aspects were dressed up, right? All these other guests. So you have one.
Saying you're not conforming.
Not conforming, okay.
Or not ready.
Well, all right, what would be being in a wedding garment look like? What would it look like to be clothed in a wedding garment? And remember, huh? Prepared, okay. What else? All right, think about this. We're clothing ourselves with spiritual principles, such as truthfulness, honesty, sincerity, humility, compassion, forgiveness, love. They're clothed. This is that clothing of spirit of the wedding garment. In other words, we're talking about the kingdom of heaven, so to speak, a state of consciousness of oneness with spirit. How would you be clothed? What way would your mind and heart be enveloped, expressing? And that's what this parable is about. And so you've got faith, you've got hope, you've got compassion, self-discipline, courage, strength. All of these things would be the various ways that we would be dressed, so to speak. Do you understand or see the connection there?
Mm-hmm.
The integrity, sincerity, serenity. So each of those characters are all dressed but one. So in order for you and I to experience that totality of knowing oneness with Spirit in living truth, it's essential that we recognize we have a responsibility with our thinking and our feeling, our actions. All right? This means changing out of our everyday stuff and putting on, dressing in. How many of you like to dress up? I do.
I don't.
I love dressing up. Well, this is the same kind of, Jesus is, in this wedding is an opportunity to dress up. And that's what you're dressing up. You're dressing up in these principles of being.
We're dressing up for Noah's celebration.
Yes,
tonight.
yeah, you're dressing up for
We
that.
dressed up really cool.
So instead, let's clothe ourselves in these wedding garments of spiritual principles, letting our external thinking and feeling be in alignment with their inner acknowledgement of Spirit. And that part of us that's the part of us that's in the wedding party, so to speak. Spiritual principles are simply the path laid out for experiencing our lives free of unnecessary suffering, with strength and resilience that helps to uphold us during the times of pain and fear that we will walk through in our life. So we come to when the king came in and he saw the man who had no wedding garments, right? And he says, "Friend, how can you get here? Hello?" I mean, he's like offended that this person is there without a wedding garment, right? So what is the big deal? You've got all the good and bad folks are there, right? What's the big deal? Why is it a big deal that the guest isn't wearing a wedding garment? Okay. The thing Jesus was pointing out in this story of the boorish party guest, it turns out to be the timeless, true struggle that is still potent today as it ever was, and that is the lack of sincerity, the lack of unwavering fidelity. Yeah. Not applying or following Spirit's guidance, okay? So our rabbi is using clothing as a metaphor for through and through spiritual sincerity. The wedding garment is that his lack of it, he represents when you and I have this stubborn refusal, and I don't know about you, but I can be stubborn sometimes, okay? To clothe our minds and hearts with an adherence to and a sincere application of spiritual principles in our lives. And in order to bring our sense of oneness with Spirit, we clothe ourselves with that principle of all things like hope and humility and love and joy and peace and those things. So Jesus' parable said, the man was speechless. And when he was faced with the truth, this man had nothing to bring to bear, which meant he was powerless, all right, to continue to be deceptive for it. So there is that place in us when we're moving through and trying to experience that sense of oneness. When you and I are in that process, if there is a place, if you will, of resistance that comes, there is within the process a removal of that. That it's a natural part. It is a natural part. So that the king said to the servants, bind him hand and foot and throw him into the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen. So this is an action of Jesus talking about the outer darkness, in which he's describing when we are in conditions of great sorrow, loss, woe. And he's saying that individual act, of not stepping into wearing those principles, being in principle, living it, living truth, brings us and throws us into those conditions that really cause more suffering than we actually need to go through. The dark nights of the soul sometimes, those are brought on by that. Spiritual dryness can come through that. So darkness is the opposite of light, all right? It has come to mean all that separates us from spirit, because God is light. Light is the symbol of spiritual growth, discernment, or as some would say, salvation. In a time of extended deep sorrow, all right, despair, hopelessness, or maybe if you aren't, maybe you're just kind of brooding over what you didn't get or didn't experience or haven't received. These things, those types of things, can put us into a condition in which we become spiritually dry. So a number of things can cause this season of drought where we feel separate from spirit, or that God's far away, all right? That we don't feel connected, depressed. We don't feel like we're growing spiritually or any other way, right? There is a time we go through these. All of us do. And I've got 12 on your sheet. I've got 12 ways to move out of spiritual darkness or dryness. The first one is to cast off the old clothes. All right. One of the significant reasons you and I find it difficult to become a changed man or woman is that most of the time these layers we clothe our minds and hearts in are not wholly bad or destructive. Consequently, there's a need to be patient. Oh dear, one of those experiences. Recognizing what and how to change is a gradual process. We must be willing to get rid of the life we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us, observed Joseph Campbell. Now that's not easy. You talk about letting go earlier. Yeah, everything has to look just so first sometimes, don't we? A time of darkness may signal that you have reached the end of one stage in your life. Be flexible enough to turn over a new page and start the next chapter. Ooh. Flexibility, another one of those spiritual principles. Acceptance, oh dear. See the good, number 2, expect the best. Your mind is a powerful tool. If you persist to see the good and expect the best, your faith can find footholds to activate in, and your being grows healthier. Remind yourself constantly and avidly that you are loved deeply and wholly by Spirit, and that though you may be suffering during this time, the whole of your life constitutes an amalgam of good, as does the world, in the world. So number 3, choose faith over understanding. When life hands up situations you and I can't understand, we have one of two choices. We can remain in an unhappy emotional state, or we can choose living truth. This becomes an act of faith, affirming, I trust you, Spirit, to give me understanding and an answer to all my whys as I am able to hold them in the light. Number 4, name it and claim it. It's vital not to give in to destructive attitudes like defeatism, cynicism, or expecting the worst. Be proactive in changing your perspective by balancing it with constructive attitudes like hope, optimism, courage, or compassion. And while your circumstances may not be your fault, they are your responsibility. That doesn't mean you caused it. It just means that you have the ability to respond to your circumstances and change outcomes. Affirm for yourself the many statements of truth or scripture which declare that particular truth, such as, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper for you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Number 5, let your gifts and talents lead you. Dark times by their nature keep us from knowing what to do sometimes and what direction to move. So being of service and using our gifts can often lead us to the light. Number 6, look for the takeaways from darkness. During times of darkness or dryness, you and I can glean new insights about our lives that we can take away from the pain or suffering and bring to light within our lives. Number 7, use the 3 healing words. I forgive you. Are 3 of the most powerful words a person can express. Ask yourself this: are you feeling anger, resentment, or hostility over something you or someone else did? Find an appropriate way to release and forgiveness, either symbolically or in person. Number 8, be an angel. Reach out and help another person without conditions. This expands our soul's capacity of kindness, strength, courage, integrity, wisdom, and understanding. Number 9, do the right thing. Find fulfilling and meaningful work that enhances your connections to people, spirit, or life. Number 10, utter blessings. Especially if you're in darkness, pray that everyone you contact will experience Spirit's blessings of peace, power, wisdom, love, joy, prosperity, and health. From Lawrence Kushner's book, The Book of Words, Talking Spiritual Life, Living Spiritual Talk, we read, blessings keep our awareness of life's holy potential ever present. They awaken us to our own lives, and with each blessing uttered, we extend the boundaries of the sacred and actualize our love of life. Number 11, one of my favorites, have a listening ear. When you pray, become still and listen for the still small voice. Make it a conversation with Spirit. Number 12, trust Spirit even if you feel lost. Hold to this idea in prayer. Here's Thomas Merton's prayer. Oh my God, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me. Therefore, I will trust you always. Though I may seem to be lost, I will not fear, for you are always with me. Oh my dear God. So the last part of that parable is many are called, but few are chosen. It isn't about God not choosing you or me because we're unworthy. All right? Remember, all the good and bad folks are there, right? They're all in their wedding finery. This is about good in our life, what we call sometimes divine favor. All right? Being chosen, having divine favor, is that experience that is a state of mind when we experience the kingdom of heaven. Okay? Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. I have come into the world as a light so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. This is talking about the Christ of our being, your being, my being. This is what following means, is behaving like. It means living as, which means essentially what Jesus is talking about in this parable, clothing ourselves in what?
Wedding.
Truth, spirit, wedding garments, yes. So, as you and I learn to look inward, develop empathy and compassion, practice self-care, helping others, learning how to gain insights to ourselves, and living truth, may you shine brightly as the light you are meant to be. May these 12 ways, like the 12 disciples, bring the light that you are meant to be into an awareness for yourself and help you to move out of any suffering or darkness that you might be in at this time. May you find the light of God. God bless you.
Keep it going, keep it going.
Okay?
We want to do the next song, right?
All right.
Yeah.
And so we take this moment to enjoy David Rosenblad's beautiful piece. What is it? You're
Yeah, I'm shifting gears on you here because that's what you talked about. We're going to do a little short song. This is for offering. Enough is enough.
enough is enough.
And that new song that you heard. Yeah. So we're going to do the affirmations first, or just... This is a song about the truth of knowing that you are enough. And this is a good one for moving out of darkness. So I'll totally change gears on you here. When you think that you're having it rough and you never have enough, take a deep look inside. Your good is not trying to hide. You are, and I am, and we are all enough. Enough is enough. That you are, and I am. Enough is enough. That we are all enough. Sometimes your life can seem so tough. Do you think it's 'cause you're not good enough? You can choose a karmic wheel of reap and sow, but look deep in your heart and you will know that you are, and I am, and we are all enough. Enough is enough, and we are, and I am. Enough is enough, and you are enough. Enough is enough, and we are all enough. Let grace give you that peace of mind to look inside and see. There you may find that it hurts too much and that you've had enough. Or not. Take a deeper look inside and you'll see that light and see what God sees. That you are, and I am, and we are all enough. Enough is enough. That you are, and I am. Enough is enough. That you are enough. Enough is enough. That we are all enough.
Pretty.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. And for those of you online, we appreciate you being with us, and we pray your service today uplifted you. And if it is good for you, we appreciate you giving any donation you would like. God bless you.